Good day, students. I'm Mrs. Augustina Amamize, your English teacher. Our topic for today is on antonyms and synonyms. We begin with the first one, which is antonyms. What are antonyms? Antonyms are words that are opposite in meaning to other words. Before we can determine the antonym of a word, we must first know the meaning of that word. So let us quickly look at this table. We start with the first example, kindle. What does kindle mean? Kindle means to start burning something or to make fire to burn. Then the opposite of kindle is extinguish. Extinguish means to put off fire. Then we go to the second one, rigid. Rigid is something that cannot be changed. So the opposite of rigid is flexible. Flexible is something that can be changed. Then the third one is elevate. What do you understand by the word elevate? Elevate means to promote. So what's the opposite of elevate? Opposite of elevate is downgrade. Downgrade means to demote. Then the fourth one is accidental. Accidental. What does accidental mean? It means something done by mistake. Something done by mistake. What's the opposite of accidental? Accidental, the opposite of accidental is intentional or deliberate. That means something that is planned. Then the fifth one is sapped. Number 5, sapped. Sapped means to drain energy. When you waste energy, you are sapping it. Then what is the opposite of sapped? The opposite mean is what? Invigorated. To invigorate means to regain or refresh yourself, to regain lost energy. Then we go to the sixth one, which is brevity. Brevity is from the word brief. When something is brief, it means it's short. So what is the opposite of brevity? The opposite of brevity is verbosity. Verbosity means something that is lengthy. That means very long. Then the seventh one is scarcity. What is scarcity? Scarcity means when there is lack, when things are not adequate. Then the opposite of scarcity is abundance, when we have a lot of things, large quantity. Number 8, outspoken. Outspoken. What does that word mean? Outspoken means when you talk too much. A talkative is outspoken. Then what is the opposite of outspoken? Opposite of outspoken is taciturn. Taciturn means when you're very quiet. Then the ninth one is crude. Crude. When we talk about crude, we're talking about something at the raw stage, something that is raw. Opposite of crude is refined. That is something that has been changed from the raw state. Then the 10th one is voluntary. When we talk about voluntary, we're talking about something you do willingly, not by force. So opposite of voluntary is mandatory. Mandatory means something you are forced to do. Then the 11th one is convicted. When someone is being convicted, it means the person is guilty of an offense. So the opposite of it is acquitted. Acquitted means you are not guilty. Then number 12 is frugal. Frugal means economical. When you are frugal, that means you can manage things. You are economical. So the opposite is extravagant, when you are wasteful. Then we go to the 13th one, which is pacify. Pacify means to calm someone that is angry. When someone is already angry, when you calm the person's anger, you are pacifying the person. So the opposite of pacify is annoy. Annoy means to make angry. Then the next one is obsolete. When something is obsolete, it means it's old or outdated. Something that is old or outdated is obsolete. Then the opposite is fashionable. Fashionable means something in vogue or something that is modern. Then we have pride. Pride means when someone is proud. Pride is when someone is proud. That means you lift yourself above others. Opposite is humility, when you bring yourself low or bring yourself down. Then the next thing is entrance. Entrance means where you use, there is a point of entry to a particular place. The opposite is exit, where you go out from. Then the next thing is opaque. Opaque is something that light cannot pass through. So opposite is transparent. Transparent is what light can pass through. Then the next thing is amateur or novice. Amateur is someone that is new in something. Someone that is just a beginner. The opposite is a professional, that is a seasoned person, someone that is experienced. Then we have virtue. Virtue have to do with some good qualities. So when you have good qualities, is described as virtue. Opposite of virtue is vice. Vice have to do with negative qualities. Then the next one is polite. When you're polite, it means you're respectful. You always talk in or behave in a respectful manner. Opposite of polite is rude. Then we have rural. Rural has to do with a village setting, something that is not in a city. So opposite is urban. Urban has to do with a modernized place. Then we have alleviate. Alleviate means to reduce. Let's say someone is not fine. You give the person drug to reduce the illness, is alleviating it. Then opposite is to worsen. That means to increase the ailment. Then we have indolent. What does indolent mean? Indolent means lazy. So when someone is lazy, you can call the person an indolent man or woman. Then the opposite is hardworking. The next one is predecessor. What does predecessor mean? Predecessor means, that word pre means before. So predecessor means before another person comes. So if someone's father was a king, when the man dies, the father becomes predecessor, then the person that is replacing him becomes his successor. So the opposite of predecessor is successor. Then the next one is blunt. Blunt means not sharp. So the antonym of blunt is sharp. Then we go over to the next one, which is fragile. Fragile means something that breaks, that can break easily. So the opposite of fragile is durable. Durable means it can last long. Then we have optimistic. Optimistic means when we think positive. A positive thinker is an optimist. So the opposite of optimism is pessimism. So when they give us optimistic, then the opposite becomes pessimistic. Then we have fragile. Fragile means something that can break easily. Opposite of fragile is durable. Durable means it can last long. Then the next one is disperse. Disperse means to scatter, something that can easily get scattered. So opposite is to assemble, that's to bring together. Then we go over to the next one, which is generous. Generous means kind. So the opposite of generous is stingy, when someone is not kind. Then the last one under antonyms is compulsory. Compulsory means something that is mandatory, something you are forced to do. Then the opposite is optional. Optional means it's not mandatory. So we go over to the next one, which is synonyms. What are synonyms? Synonyms are words that are nearest in meaning to other words. To determine the meaning of a word, first we have to know how it was used in the sentence. So for synonym, you don't just take the meaning of the word the way you know it before, but you have to check how it was used in the sentence. So let's take some examples. The first one is rampant. Rampant. What does it mean? Rampant means common. So the synonym of rampant is common. The second one is pathetic. Pathetic. Pathetic means sad, something sorrowful. So if you hear a pathetic story, it means a story that is sad. Then the third one is hostile. Hostile. When you are hostile, you are aggressive or harsh. Then we have astonishing. Astonishing. Astonishing means amazing or surprising. So the next word there is inevitable. Inevitable means something that cannot be avoided. So the synonym of inevitable is unavoidable. Then we go over to the next one, stigma. Stigma means disgrace or shame. Something that brings shame is a stigma. The next word is terrified. What does the word terrified mean? It means frightened or something that makes one afraid. Then we have extravagant. Extravagant means wasteful. So when you waste things, it means you're extravagant. So the next word there is callous. Callous means wicked. That means the person is not kind. Then the next word is frank. What does frank mean? Frank means to be honest or sincere. Then we go over to the next one, which is aggravate. Aggravate means to worsen. When an issue becomes worse, you say it has aggravated. Then we have shady. Shady means dishonest. So when someone is doing a shady business, it means it's a dishonest business. Then the next word there is clandestine. Clandestine means secret. Then we have inquisitive. When you are inquisitive, it means you are curious, you want to know everything. Then we go over to the next one, which is indolent. Indolent means lazy. Then we have meticulous. When you are meticulous, it means you are careful. You do things carefully. Then we have legitimate. Legitimate means legal or lawful. When you say someone is a legitimate child, it means it's a lawful child or legal child. Then we have benevolent. Benevolent means kindness. So when someone has a benevolent heart, it means the person has a kind heart. Then we have ephemeral. When something is ephemeral, it means it's short-lived. It cannot last for a long time. Then we have mimic. Mimic means to imitate. The next word is inimical. When something is inimical, it means it's harmful. Something that can cause us harm is inimical. Then we have frail. Frail means something that is not strong. Something that can break easily, is fragile. So that is what frail means. Then we have squander. What does squander mean? Squander means to waste. So when you like wasting things, it means you are squandering things. The next word there is probe. What does probe mean? Probe means to investigate. Let's say something happened, they ask you to probe it. It means you should investigate what actually happened. Then we have imperative. Imperative means something that is essential. So the synonym of imperative is essential. We go over to the next one, which is rectify. What does rectify mean? Rectify means to correct. So after maybe they gave you something to read, to cross-check, after correcting it, it means that the word for correct means rectify. That means you just rectified it. Then we have surmounted. Surmount means to overcome. So when we say surmounted, since it's past tense, we are not going to say overcome, it becomes overcame. Then we have impudent. Impudent means you are rude. When you lack respect, you are rude. Then we have immense. Immense means great. When something is immense, it means it's great or large. Now we want to do some exercises to actually understand the difference between antonyms and synonyms. So the instruction says, from the group of words lettered A to D, choose the one that is most nearly opposite in meaning to the underlined words. So the first example says, I am happy that I passed the compulsory papers well, though I didn't do quite well in the dash ones. So the question now is, what is the opposite of compulsory? We have some options there. The first one is unimportant. B, primary. C, inconsequential. D, optional. So since compulsory is something that is a must, the answer becomes optional, which is D. Then we go over to the second one. His primary aim was power. Getting rich was only a dash one. So what is the opposite of primary? We have A, secondary. B, tertiary. C, minor. D, subsidiary. The answer is secondary. His primary aim was power. Getting rich was only a secondary one. So we pick A as the answer. That is secondary. Then we go over to the third one. All the houses erected in the country's capital without the approval of the authority had to be dash. Opposite of erected. Now we have rebuilt. B, demolished. C, deserted. D, evacuated. So erect means to build. So opposite of erected means is demolished. So the answer is B, demolished. Then we have the fourth one. It is so surprising that though Taiwo is quite polite, Kainde is dash. The word that is underlined is polite. So what is the opposite or antonym of polite? A, gentle. B, boisterous. C, gallant. D, impudent. Polite means you are respectful. So the opposite is impudent, which means rude. So the answer is D. Then we go over to number 5. Once the first speaker was applauded, the second was dash. Whilst the first speaker was applauded, the second was dash. So applauded is underlined. The first option there is praise. B, booed. C, silenced. D, abused. Applaud means when you are clapped for. Maybe you have done something outstanding. So the opposite is booed, when you are mocked. Then we continue with our exercises. This one is on synonyms. From the words lettered A to D, choose the word that is nearest in meaning to the underlined word or group of words. 1. Only one little girl witnessed the accident. Only one little girl witnessed the accident. The underlined word there is witness. What does witness mean? Let's look at the options. A. Knew about. B. Explained. C. Saw. D. Proclaimed. So the correct answer there is saw, because witness means to see. Then we go to number 2. The crowd, being intimidated by the soldiers, stood silent and afraid. What is underlined is intimidated. So the first word there is questioned. B. Frightened. C. Attacked. D. Informed. So intimidated means to be frightened. 3. I don't think that anything he does will affect the results. I don't think that anything he does will affect the result. Affect is underlined. So we are looking at the meaning of affect. A. Effect. B. Improve. C. Influence. D. Reverse. So the answer is influence, which is C. Then 4. I don't engage in shady business. Shady is underlined. So let's look at the options. A. Unknown. B. Shadowy. C. Unrevealed. D. Dishonest. So the answer is dishonest, which is D. Then the last one. Some politicians engage in clandestine meetings. What is the meaning of clandestine? Clandestine is underlined there. A. Secret. B. Unknown. C. Important. D. Sudden. So the answer is A, which is secret. So clandestine means secret. So we have assignment for the week. The first one is explain the meaning of these terms, antonyms and synonyms. 2. Give the antonyms of these words. 1. Intentional. 2. Rural. 3. Natural. Number 3. Give the synonyms of these words. 1. Humility. 2. Doting. 3. Rarely. Class, so far we have been learning about antonyms and synonyms. Let's just do a recap. Antonyms means words that are opposite in meaning to other words, while synonyms are words that are nearest in meaning to other words. We also learned that to know what the antonyms of a particular word is, we have to know the meaning of that word first. Then, to find out the synonym of a word, we have to know how it was used in the particular sentence. So thank you so much. I hope that all we have learned, when you put it into practice, you do very well. Thank you.